Good evening, students. How are you guys? Students, we are doing chapter 7, completion and review. And day before yesterday, we had touched upon the topic of written representations. So tell me, students, I had told you the meaning of written representations. So what do you understand by written representations? Whose responsibility is to obtain written representations and from whom these are obtained, and what is meant by written representations? Yes, quickly send your mails, guys. Yes, students. Whose responsibility is to obtain written representations, from whom these are obtained, and what is their meaning? Yes, anyone? Yes, students, come on, that's damn simple. Yes, Tejaswin, you are writing auditor's responsibility to obtain it from management, and it is a supplementary evidence to audit. Auditor's responsibility, Pranav is also writing correctly. Pallavi is also stating correctly. So all of you are stating correctly that it is auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management. And the standard on relevant standard on auditing which deals with this issue is SA 580. And what in fact are written representations? So we had understood that written representations are written statements. Remember, students, these are written statements obtained by auditor from management to confirm certain matters or in support of some audit evidence. So what are those matters which are confirmed, which are to be confirmed by means of written representations? So we shall discuss this issue today. And how do written representations in fact support other audit evidence which auditor has obtained during the course of audit by performing audit procedures? This we shall also discuss. So students, as I told you in last lecture, that written representations are necessary audit evidence. So remember, these are audit evidence. Okay, these are necessary audit evidence. But these do not by themselves constitute sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So the logic behind this is simple, that you are asking management to confirm a certain matter, and management is providing you a written statement confirming that matter. So is your responsibility over? The answer is no. The answer is no. You just can't totally rely upon written representations. That you have to understand. What you have obtained as audit evidence by performing different procedures, so it supplements, it complements, it gives support to that audit evidence which you have obtained by performing audit procedures during the course of audit. I think this point should be clear to you, students. There should not be any doubt regarding this point in your minds. And What is the logic behind obtaining written representations? That obviously an auditor cannot be privy to all the things which the management knows. He is not running the business. He is only auditing the, he is only examining the financial statements with the view to express opinion on the financial statements. So the management is in knowledge of all transactions, all events which are happening as part of business process. So therefore, it makes sense to obtain written representations from management. Okay. So students, what are those matters which written representations tend to confirm? So students, remember that written representations are obtained by the auditor from management to confirm number one, completeness of information in relation to preparation of financial statements, and they also confirm that they have provided all the information which was required, which was demanded by the auditor during the course of audit. So these are the two fundamental matters in respect of which written representations are obtained. So one thing is written representation and management's responsibilities. Now, as we know that management is responsible for preparation of financial statements, for correct, for reliable financial reporting, management is responsible. So written representations about management's responsibilities involves confirmation of fulfillment of management responsibilities in following areas. Number one is the preparation of financial statements that look that the management has prepared the financial statements in accordance with the applicable FRF, in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework, and by means of written statement they are confirming this fact to the auditor. Okay, so this is the one part on which they are confirming, although it is their responsibility. uh, it is their it a responsibility is cast upon the management for reliable financial reporting, but still the auditor obtains written representation confirming this fact. Okay, so you understand now. The auditor shall request management to provide a written representation that it has fulfilled its responsibility for preparation of financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. And as we have discussed that because of the responsibility of the management to prepare financial statements, so management is expected to have knowledge of all the processes or relating to the entity which are relevant in preparation of financial statements. So in some cases, students, before management gives written representation, management may decide to confirm certain matters, to inquire certain matters from those persons whose help it has taken for preparing financial statements. Okay, like some persons who have some specialized knowledge, so they may also tend to confirm certain matters from such persons before giving in writing to the auditors to maintain the sanctity and truthfulness of written representations. Okay, like actuaries. Such individuals may include actuaries. Who are actuaries, students? Yes, anyone who knows this? Who are actuaries? Yes, Srinivasan, you have pointed out why written representation is not part of audit report. See, this is as we know that this is a type of audit evidence, although not sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So the auditor is not supposed to append audit evidence as he has obtained in his audit report. He gives the opinion. Yes, Tejaswin, your actuaries are mathematical experts. They have extensive knowledge of mathematics. Yes, that's true. And decide about gratuity and insurance premium. Yes, Tejaswin, yes, you are right. So like actuary students, they are people having specialized knowledge in the field of statistics, mathematics, and they decide about financial impacts of risks and uncertainties. So like for example, in case of insurance companies, the insurance company has issued a policy and has issued certain policy, and on the basis of past claim experience of the company, the actuaries may determine that this much claims are expected to come. They do generally come. So these are types of work actuaries do. Okay. So engineers who may have responsibility and special knowledge about some environmental impacts, internal legal counsel who may provide information about provisions which are necessary to be made in respect of legal claims. Okay, because unless the management inquires from these people having specialized knowledge, whose input it has taken for preparation of financial statements, it can't say that it can't confirm the first fact, which is that management has fulfilled its responsibility for preparation of financial statements in accordance with financial reporting framework. So this much, students, you have to understand. Okay. Yes, you can say in the nature of management expert. Yes, Tejaswin, right. Your track of thinking is right. And another important thing, students, SA 580 states. So all of that, all of this content, students, which we are reading is taken from SA 580. Okay, so I am not taking the name of SA 580 again and again. So it is understood that all the content which we are reading in relation to written representations relates to SA 580 and is taken from Standard on Auditing 580. Okay. So in some cases, management may include in the written representations qualifying language to the effect that written representations are to the best of its knowledge and belief. So what is qualifying language? Yes. What do we mean by qualifying language? Yes, anybody? What do we mean by qualifying language? No, Pallavi, not in the language of experts. Qualifying language means uh, that it is not that free flow. Okay, when it is stated that these written representations are made to best of their knowledge and belief, it means that they are giving this written representation with some qualification that these are to their best of knowledge and belief. Okay, so SA 580 states that this type of wording is totally acceptable if the representations are being made by those persons who are having adequate responsibilities and knowledge of what is stated in the written representations. Okay. And the auditor can also ask uh, management to make um, to also include in the written representation the fact that they have made suitable inquiries as we have discussed right now uh, for confirming certain matters in written representations. Okay, so the point is clear to you, students. First thing is written representations relating to preparation of financial statements. That you have to remember. In examinations, you may be asked to write about this point. Okay, so what would happen in an exam, that you would remember only first para and you may forget last two paras. Okay, so always remember that in preparation of financial statements, the management also confirms certain matters from persons having specialized knowledge, and they can also use qualifying language. Yes, Sanya, you are stating correctly. Conditional statements. It is acceptable. Remember, an MCQ can be framed on this. Whether qualifying language can be used, giving 3-4 options all jumbled up. So an MCQ can be used. That is why, students, I have been telling you to read and mark each and every line of your module. At least when you are reading for the first time, do read and mark every line, important words, highlight, underline those words, so that when you make a second reading, it becomes easier for you to spot out those things which are more important, which are quite significant. Clear? Second point is information provided and completeness of transaction. Now, written representations are obtained regarding this issue: information provided and completeness of transaction. Now, the auditor shall request management to provide a written representation that it has provided the auditor with all the relevant information and access as agreed in audit engagement. So when students remember, when an auditor accepts an engagement, a formal engagement letter is issued. A formal engagement letter is issued. No, Bhavna, it is not understandable language. It is rather conditional, you can say, conditional statements like to the best of my knowledge and belief. So they are not confirming that we have prepared the financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. They may state like this, that we confirm to the best of our knowledge and belief that we have prepared the financial statements in accordance with the financial reporting framework. That is also acceptable. Both are acceptable. Okay. So SA 580 only states that qualifying language is also acceptable. It is not stating that only qualifying language is to be used. It is stating that qualifying language is also acceptable. So, students, you would read about engagement letter, audit engagement letter in chapter 11. In chapter 11, so just understand that engagement letter is a sort of contract, is a sort of formal contract between the auditor and client, and it includes um, certain matters like what are the management's responsibilities and other things in relation to auditor's responsibilities. Okay. Yes, Bhavna, you are right. So it has provided the auditor with all the relevant information and access as agreed in terms of audit engagement. So terms of audit engagement means conditions of audit engagement, terms on which the audit has been accepted. Okay. All transactions have been recorded and reflected in the financial statements. So now they are uh, categorically stating that all transactions have been reflected and have been recorded and reflected in the financial statement. So they are confirming this fact by means of written representations. Okay. So students, and what could be what objectives are there in accordance with SA 580? What are the objectives of auditor in accordance with 580? So from the content which we have understood till now, we know that auditor has to obtain written representations from management, and these are obtained to confirm certain matters and to support audit evidence. And he has to see, third point is he has to see that written representations are in fact reliable. They can be relied upon. So there are three objectives of auditor as per SA 580. First objective is to obtain written representations from management that they believe that they have fulfilled their responsibility for preparation of financial statements and for completeness of information provided to auditor, and to support other audit evidence relevant to financial statements or specific assertions which may be required by the auditor by means of written representations, like the auditor may specifically require the management to confirm that they have considered all subsequent events up to the occurring between the date of financial statements and date of audit report. Okay. And third is to respond appropriately to written representations provided by management, or where management doesn't provide written representations requested by the auditor. So it may so happen that that written representation provided by management are not reliable. Say the auditor during the course of audit has found something which is inconsistent with the written representations. So it would definitely cast a doubt on the integrity of written representations. Okay, so we shall be coming to this subtopic later on. But you can understand that what this C para means, what this C point means. it is stating to respond appropriately. So whatever written representations have been obtained, the auditor have to respond to them, to see. He just can't be a passive player. Okay, so he has to see that whatever written representations have been provided by the management, whether these are consistent with audit evidence which he has obtained during the course of audit. And it may so happen that management may fail to provide written representations. So that would again pose a big question mark on the management, if they are unable to provide written representations as may be requested by the auditor, because it may give an indication to the auditor that management is not forthcoming, that management is not willing, that management is hesitating to even to submit written representation which I am asking. Okay, so again we shall be coming to this point a little bit later on. Clear, guys? Is that clear? Yes, Tejaswin, you are right. You are right, Tejaswin. So guys, this point, why written representations about management responsibilities are necessary? This we have discussed already in general terms. Okay, so let us see what is written in your module. We shall quickly go once go through it. So audit evidence obtained during audit that management has fulfilled its responsibilities about preparation of financial statements and completeness of transaction is not sufficient without obtaining confirmation from management that it believes that it has fulfilled those responsibilities. So this is the same thing which I am telling you, which we have discussed, that auditor has obtained audit evidence, but still it wants a piece of paper from the management confirming these facts. It wants expressly written from the management that that they have fulfilled their responsibilities and the related matters. Okay. This is because the auditor is not able to judge solely on other audit evidence whether management has prepared and presented the financial statements and provided information to the auditor on the basis of its agreed acknowledgement and understanding of its responsibility. Because in absence of this document, the auditor can't state that you have fulfilled your responsibility. Obviously, first, the person whom the responsibility is cast, he would state that I have fulfilled my responsibility. Okay. And this is particularly appropriate when and it becomes very important, significant in the following circumstances. Like say the audit engagement letter was prepared in a certain year, and subsequent to that management has changed. Okay, some people in the management have changed, key persons in the management have changed, or there are some changes in circumstances, or there is some indication to the auditor that management misunderstands its responsibilities. So these are circumstances where it becomes necessary particularly necessary for the auditor to obtain such things in writing, even though otherwise in normal cases also he is expected to obtain. But in these circumstances, its importance is increased. Okay. Now, other written representations. Now, what could be the matter apart from fulfilling of management responsibilities in which written representations can be asked by the auditor from management? Yes, yes, guys. Any guesses? Think of certain methods apart from fulfillment of management's responsibilities regarding preparation of financial statements and completion of information. What could be the other matters? What could be the examples of other matters in respect of which auditor may ask management to provide written representation to confirm those matters? Yes. Any guesses, students? Like I had given you the example of subsequent events. Apart from that, which examples can you think? Yes, litigation. Yes, SA 570 going concern, litigation and claims. Yes, it can be there. So we shall be seeing students a format of written representations. So let us see that first, and then we shall come to other things. So like this is the a written representation, illustrative written representation letter. How a written representation letter looks like. Okay, to the name of the auditor, dear sir, and there is a date put on it. This representation letter is provided in connection with your audit of financial statements for year ended so and so, for the purpose of expressing opinion as to whether the statements give a true and fair view in accordance with the applicable accounting standards in India. We confirm that to the best of our knowledge and belief. Okay, so it is using a qualifying language. As we consider necessary and having made such inquiries as we consider necessary. Okay, so they have also made inquiries of persons having specialized knowledge. So they are confirming following things. First thing is financial statements, preparation of financial statements, that we have fulfilled our responsibilities as set out in terms of audit engagement letter dated so and so. Okay, so they are referring to audit engagement letter under which the terms of audit were agreed to. Okay, so remember students that audit engagement letter is sent by is taken at the time of accepting the audit, before an audit is accepted. So significant assumptions made by us in making accounting estimates, including those measured at fair value, are reasonable. Related party relationships and transactions. So this could be one of the area in which written representations can be asked by the auditor from management, that related party relationships and transactions have been appropriately accounted for and disclosed in accordance with the requirements of applicable accounting standards. Okay. Subsequent events. So all events subsequent to the date of financial statements and for which applicable accounting standards in India require adjustment or disclosure have been adjusted or disclosed in accordance with SA 560. And another thing, the effects of uncorrected statements are immaterial. So remember, guys, in SA 450, we had studied, we had learned that the auditor shall obtain written representation from management that if they have not corrected some misstatements, then effect of those uncorrected misstatements are immaterial, both individually and in aggregate, to the financial statements as a whole, because that is why they have not corrected it. So that could be a reason that despite being pointed out by the auditor, the management is not correcting the misstatements because they think that the effect of those misstatements is immaterial. So when they think that the effect of those misstatements is not significant, is immaterial, they are expected to confirm it in writing by the means of written representations. Clear, students? Yes. Is the point clear to you guys? Students, and I would request you to read this um, illustrative sample written representation letter. Sometimes questions have come from this format also. Vigilant eye on each and every line of your module. Okay. So information provided, so they are confirming to the auditor that we have provided you with access to all information of which we are aware that is relevant to preparation of financial statements. So they are confirming that look, everything of which we are aware, we have given you all the information of all records, documents, we have and other matters, we have given you all the information. And besides that, any additional information which you have required has also been provided to you. Okay, because the auditor can ask information from the management during the course of audit. It is well established, right? Okay. And unrestricted access to the persons within the entity from whom you determined is necessary to obtain audit evidence. So what does this mean, students? Yes, anybody you can tell me what does this point mean? Unrestricted access to persons within the entity to whom you determined it necessary to obtain audit evidence. How would you explain it in a simple manner? What is the meaning of it? Yes, yes, Bhavna, yes. No, no, full access of information. No, no, Tejaswin, this point is stating that we have provided um, unhindered, unrestricted. It means free approach to the persons from whom you wanted to interact, from whom you say wanted to obtain audit evidence. We have not put any conditions. We have not put any restrictions. We have not put any fetters upon you, upon your this right. Yes. Is the point clear to you, students? Yes, guys, is the point clear to you? Yes, Tejaswin. Okay. Yes, Sanya, auditor is free to ask. So, yes, that's correct. So, this point is sought to be confirmed by means of written representations. That, in fact, the management has provided unrestricted access to persons within the entity from whom the auditor thought it fit to obtain audit evidence. Okay. Yes, Amit, you are also right. So all transactions have been recorded in the accounting records and are reflected in the financial statements. We have disclosed to you the results of our assessment of the risk that the financial statements may be materially misstated as a result of fraud. So you can correlate it with the component of internal control which you have read in the which you have read in your chapter 3. Okay, entities risk assessment process. Okay. We have disclosed to you all the information in relation to fraud or suspected fraud. So that is another point. So if the management is in the knowledge of some fraud having occurred, or they suspect that some fraud has been committed by some employees or somebody, then this information has also been disclosed to the auditors. Okay, so guys, there are a lot of points. So we have disclosed to you all the information in relation to fraud or suspected fraud that we are aware of, that which is in our knowledge, and that which affects the entity and involves, it may involve management or employees or others, where the fraud is having significant impact upon the financial statements. And we have also disclosed to you uh, all information in relation to allegations of fraud or of suspected fraud. So, Bhavna, the point you are asking is related to this one. Okay. So, we have disclosed to you all instances of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with laws and regulations. So, this is also very important, students. Say in normal course of business, students understand this, that a company or an entity, an enterprise would be governed by many laws, like there would be labor laws, there would be environmental laws, and there are other laws which you know, like GST, like income tax. Similarly, like labor laws, ESI, PF, Bonus Act, Factory Act, okay, Payment of Wages Act, and so many of laws. And there could be environmental laws applicable to the company depending upon the nature of industry. So these non-compliance with these laws can have a significant impact on the preparation of financial statements. Why? Because if an enterprise is non-compliant, that it can involve penalties and fines on the enterprise. It can have legal consequences for it. And it may so happen that liabilities for non-compliance may become so huge that ultimately it could also affect the going concern ability of the concern. If the company or enterprise is or their promoters are so non-compliant with laws. Okay. Yes. Yes, Srinivasan, we are coming to that point. Just now we are coming to that point which you are asking. And this is again related to related parties. So we have disclosed to you the identity of entities, related parties, and related party relationships and transactions which we are aware of in accordance with SA 550. So students, at the top of this written representation letter, you have seen a date. So what is the relevance of this date? And Srinivasan has asked a question relating to this, that when should the auditor obtain this written representation letter from the management? So I throw this question to you, students. I ask this question to you, students. What do you think from your common sense? We shall study. It is there in the essay. We shall learn, but just just make a guess. What at what date should an auditor obtain written representation from the management? So different responses are coming. So it would be very interesting, students, to see your responses on this count. And because then we shall be trying to reconcile your responses with what is written in SA 580. And let us see who gets it right. Yes. Yes, guys, I want response from everybody. So there are 39 participants. So at least 35 of you must be students. Yes. Only 6, 7 responses have come. What about other students? Students, just write 2, 3 words. It would help in opening your mind. So by doing such an exercise, at least you would try to think. So you have understood the meaning, nature, and concept of written representations. Now we are talking about the date of written representations. So still, so guys, what I think that the most uh, appropriate and close to what is written in SA 580 is Sania's response. Now she is stating that date close to auditor's report. So students understand that written representations should be obtained on a date which is as near to the date of auditor's report as it is practicable. Okay. Say if the audit report is to be signed on say 20th July. So date of 15 July or 16 July of return representation is okay, is appropriate. Because why it is so? Because obviously the auditor would be demanding, would be requesting return representations on certain matters like subsequent events. So it should be as near to as the date of audit report as it is practicable, and it can't be later than the date of auditor's report in any case, because then in that case the purpose of written representations is defeated. So date of written representation has to be before the date of auditor's report in any case. Okay, but it should be as near to as practicable near the date of audit report. So as like some of you are stating during the audit period, Bhavna, it doesn't make sense. So it is too general. Now Dilip, you are stating it at the time of completion of audit procedures. So this can also have different meanings. Okay. So now we see what is written in your module, what is stated in essay 580 regarding date of and periods covered by written representations. This is also a important subtopic of written representation, students, and many time question has come on this topic because MCQ can be made on it. So the date of written representations shall be as near as practicable to, but not after the date of auditor's report on financial statements. So this line says everything. This line says everything. So the date of written representation shall be as near as practicable to the date of auditor's report, but not after. It has to be earlier than that. So obviously when the auditor has signed the report and if written representation is dated after that, what is the purpose of that? It means that it would mean that the auditor has not considered those written representations, and by doing so he has omitted this important and necessary audit evidence. Yes, Bhavna. It should be as near. Yes, now you are thinking rightly. So, because written representations are necessary audit evidence, these are necessary audit evidence, the auditor's opinion can't be expressed and auditor's report can't be dated before the date of the written representations. So again, if you think, if we try to think it in an opposite manner, then auditor's report cannot be dated before the date of written representations. Say if written representation is of 15 July, then auditor's report can't be of 14 July. So same thing is written in a converse manner. Further, because the auditor is concerned with events occurring up to the date of auditor's report, subsequent events it is talking that may require adjustment or disclosures in financial statements, the written representations are dated as near as practicable to, but now not after the date of auditor's report. So this para, it provides the reason. It provides the reason why written representation are dated near the auditor's report. So a good descriptive question can be framed on this para. Okay, giving you a situation and stating that that Mr. So and so is not able to understand that why written representation should be near to the date of auditor's report, but not after the date of auditor's report. So you would have to write these lines, dear students. Only then you would be getting marks in the paper. Yes, guys, is that clear? Yes, students, is this clear? Great. So great, students. So I think Srinivasan, your query has also been resolved. Please confirm. And next issue is, so students, you remember a third objective of auditor in accordance with SA 580? You remember third objective, which we have just studied? That was to respond appropriately to written representations. So the auditor has obtained written representations, so he has to respond to that also. Okay. So if the auditor has concerns about the competence, integrity, ethical values, or diligence of the management, the auditor shall determine the effect that such concerns may have on the reliability of written representation and audit evidence in general. So what does this mean, students? So say if the persons who form part of the management, um, they are say non-compliant with laws. They do not care about notices sent by statutory authorities. They 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 lack integrity. Okay, so the auditor shall determine the effect such circumstances can have on the reliability of written representations and audit evidence in general. It means that auditor um, has to keep his eyes wide open. He can't keep his eyes shut. Okay. In particular, if written representations are inconsistent with other audit evidence, say if the written representations, say the management is submitting written representation to the auditor that we have disclosed all the related party relationships and transactions in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Okay. But the auditor during the course of audit has obtained evidence to the contrary, that there are some related parties which have not been disclosed and transactions with them have not been disclosed. Okay. So what does this show about the quality of written representations which have been provided by the management to the auditor? Yes. Yes. What does this tell about the quality of written representations provided by the management to the auditor? So this shows that uh, the management in very poor light, because the audit evidence which the auditor has obtained, it contradicts, it is inconsistent with what is stated in written representations. So what would be the auditor's responsibility in such a case? So the auditor would first of all try to resolve the matter, discuss the matter with management. It may be the case that something might come to the knowledge of auditor, and he may be on a wrong footing. Management may give his own explanation. Okay. So the auditor shall perform audit procedures to attempt to resolve the matter. If the matter remains unresolved, the auditor shall reconsider the assessment of the competence, integrity, ethical values of the management, and shall determine the effect that is this may have on reliability of written representations and audit evidence in general. So ultimately, if the auditor concludes that other audit evidence which I have obtained is inconsistent with what the management is asserting by means of written representations, then he would deem that written representations are unreliable. These are not reliable, and the auditor shall see what impact it could have on his opinion, and having regard particularly to the requirement of disclaimer of opinion. He can disclaim opinion also. Okay. So all these things are stated in SA 705 relating to modification of opinion, which you would read in next chapter, chapter 8. Okay. And if management doesn't provide one or more of the requested representations, then what will happen? So again, students, a question can be made on this. So students, you have to develop an ability, a knack of what type of questions can come. So in every attempt, new questions are coming up. So therefore, I have been advising you, I have been requesting all of you um, not to adopt a question centric approach while preparing for the exam, but adopt an approach which is all encompassing, which means that you have read everything which is written in your module. Okay, and questions you can do and you should do for your practice, for testing your understanding, for testing your knowledge, for testing what you have understood and what you have remembered. So if requested written representations are not provided, then the auditor shall discuss the matter with the management. First thing which he does and he should do in every case, and reevaluate the integrity of management. Again, the same points, and take appropriate actions including the determination of what effect it could have on the on his opinion, including disclaimer of opinion. So in both the cases, same thing is written. When there is doubt about the reliability of written representation, and when written representations are not provided at all. Okay. Disclaimer of opinion in case of non-reliability of written representations or failure to provide written representation. So the auditor shall disclaim an opinion on financial statements in the following two circumstances: that if the auditor concludes that there is a doubt about the integrity of management, that the written representations are not reliable at all, and number two, that management has not provided written representations relating to fulfilling its responsibilities in relation to preparation of financial statements and about information provided and completeness of transactions. That is the basic responsibilities which the management is uh, supposed to fulfill. Written representation is not provided in respect of those responsibilities. Okay. Clear, students? Is the point clear? So see this question. Now test your understanding 5. Read the question. We have discussed it now. Yes. What would you write in such type of question? How would you write in the paper? How would you write answer to such type of question? No, no, Tejaswin, you are answering only a part of it. What about second part? Yes, any answer, students, without seeing the answer from module? Yes, Kasak. Yes, you are writing management view is not proper if management not provide the documents. Then the auditor should discuss the matter with management. Yes, you should write this answer to this question in following manner: that view of management is not proper. The auditor is asking from the management um, it to confirm regarding fulfillment of its responsibilities for preparation of financial statements and providing of necessary information and completeness of transactions to the auditor. So the management views that these documents are not relevant is not correct, because these are in the nature of written representations, which are necessary audit evidence, and the auditor has a responsibility to obtain such written representations from management. Um, and what possible implications it may lead to. However, if the management chooses not to provide such written representations, then it could lead to auditor disclaiming the opinion. Okay, because it relates to the basic point. If the management is not providing written representation relating to the fulfillment of responsibilities regarding preparation of financial statements and about information provided and completeness of transaction, then the auditor shall disclaim an opinion. Okay. Yes, Srinivasan, first part is right. Management point of view is wrong because it is not getting sufficient appropriate evidence from the management. He can ask from a written representation. Yes. Okay. So all the, yes, Tejaswin, you are also stating correctly. No, no, it is not addition of a disclaimer. Tejaswin, as you would read in essay 705, disclaimer of opinion is in itself a type of modification. Okay. Yes, Tambeshwari, you are also right. Now we come to another essay, students, that is essay 260. Essay 260. Communication with those charged with governance. TCWG. So in short, we are writing those charged with governance, TCWG. Those charged with governance. So students, what do you think is the meaning of this term, those charged with governance? Then we will discuss a basic overview of this essay, which is very simple and plainly understandable. Yes. Who are those charged with governance? What is meaning of this term? See, you can make an answer by reading the words themselves. Yes, those charged with governance. TCWG. So sometimes in paper also the word TCWG is written. It is an abbreviated form which is used quite often. So wherever it is written, so understand that it is those charged with governance. Yes, students, waiting for your responses. 3, 4 responses have come. Pallavi, Amit, Tambeshwari, Tejaswin. So students, those charged with governance means those persons, those people who are responsible for managing affairs of the company, who are responsible for overseeing the strategic direction of the entity and responsibilities relating to the relate and obligations related to the accountability of the entity, like overseeing the financial reporting process. That means preparation of financial statements. So in many cases, these terms can be management and TCWG can be same. Okay. In other cases, it can be different. Like in some entities, the governance function may be totally separated. So those persons who are responsible for governing an entity may be separate, and a separate set of persons are responsible for keeping an eye on them to supervise their functioning. Like in some cases, it is stated in your module, in some entities there could be a setup in which entity is governed by an executive board, and there is some supervisory board separate from executive functions. Okay. So TCWG means those people who are overseeing the strategic direction of the entity, like board of directors. Many of you are writing. Tejaswin is correct. Audit committee. Okay. Those who are responsible for overseeing financial reporting process. Say in small concerns, obviously honor manager would be performing all the functions. Okay. So this is the meaning of TCWG. It is not precisely possible to state who is TCWG in a particular type of structure. It would depend upon the legal structure and the kind of responsibilities which have been entrusted. Okay. So this essay is about communicating with those charged with governance. Now, why communication with the people who are responsible for governing the entity is important? Yes, students. What could be the reason? What could be the reason that why communicating with TCWG is important? Why it is significant? Yes, very simple concept, students. Here you just have to get an understanding of what this essay deals with and what are its main requirements. So Srinivasan, yes, you are saying they are answerable to shareholders of the company. No, no, what I am trying to ask is why it is responsible for, why it is important for an auditor to communicate with the TCWG? Why it is important for an auditor to communicate with TCWG during the course of an audit of financial statements? This is what I am precisely asking. Yes, Tejaswin, you are on the right track. Overall objective of audit quality could be accomplished. Yes, that's true. Sanya, you are saying they are supposed to have information required by the auditor. Yes, that's also true in part. Yes, Pallavi, yes, that's also correct. Yes, again, objective of audit cannot be achieved. So all of you are stating correctly in part. So communication with the TCWG has to be two-way. It should not only flow from auditor to TCWG, but also from TCWG to auditor. So it helps in assisting the auditor and TCWG in understanding matters related to the audit and in develop a constructive working relationship. So the meaning of it is that in absence of communication, how an effective audit would be conducted. So if both of them, auditor and TCWG, make a useful communication, then it would help in maintaining a constructive working relationship, and it would ultimately help in achieving the objectives of audit. Okay. And it would also help the auditor in obtaining from TCWG information relevant to the audit. So this is the basic thing. Unless the auditor communicates with TCWG how he is able to obtain information which is relevant to the audit, like how management has prepared estimates, which method has been adopted, what is how the auditor would be judging that estimates made by the management are reasonable. Okay. So it also helps TCWG to oversee their financial reporting process, thereby reducing the risks of material misstatement of financial statements. So again, related to the basic objective of audit, that if auditor communicates with TCWG effectively, regularly, then obviously it helps in preparation of reliable financial statements. It helps in overseeing their in fulfilling their responsibility to oversee the financial reporting process. Clear? So these are basically points in relation to importance of communication with TCWG. Why such communication with TCWG is important. Okay. So SA 260 students, it deals with the auditor's responsibility to communicate with TCWG in an audit of financial statements. It is as simple. Now, objectives of auditor in accordance with SA 260, there are these objectives: 4. To communicate clearly with TCWG the responsibilities of auditor in relation to financial statements audit and plan scope and timing of audit. So the TCWG has to be clearly informed that what are auditor's responsibilities, that these are the things for which auditor is responsible, that auditor is responsible for expression of an opinion on the financial statements, And what is the scope and timing of audit? Planned scope and timing of audit. And to obtain from TCWG information relevant to audit, second point, which we had discussed in the significance of communication, and to provide to TCWG timely observations arising from the audit that are significant. So what significant observations have arisen during the course of audit from time to time? These have to be provided to TCWG, and to promote effective two-way communication between the auditor and TCWG. So these are all four objectives of auditor in accordance with SA 260. Very simple. And significance of communication can also be derived from these objectives. Okay. So the auditor shall determine the appropriate persons to whom communication is to be made. So obviously he has to first determine to whom I want to make communication, who are responsible persons in TCWG. Okay. So matters to be communicated by auditor. Now this is the explanation of all these objectives. The auditor's responsibility in relation to financial statement, that it has to be communicated clearly to TCWG that auditor is responsible for expressing an opinion on FS that is prepared by the management. And the audit of financial statement doesn't relieve management or TCWG of their responsibilities. That auditor is again communicating that, look, this is your responsibility to prepare financial statements. My responsibility is to express opinion on these financial statements. So same points: plan, scope, and timing of audit. So auditor shall communicate with TCWG overview of plan, scope, and timing. Okay. And third is significant findings from the audit. So he shall communicate with TCWG significant findings like his observation on accounting policies, on accounting estimates, which we have just discussed. Significant difficulties, if any, encountered during the audit. If any encountered means if any difficulty has been faced. So this has also to be communicated to TCWG so that it can be overcome in time. The purpose of communicating is so that it can be overcome and remedial action can be taken by TCWG in this regard. And significant matters arising during the audit that were discussed, written representation which the auditor is requesting. So all these things have to be communicated with TCWG, and circumstances that affect the form and content of the audit report. So if some misstatements have been found which could lead to the modification of opinion, then the same would also be communicated to TCWG. Okay. And in case of listed entities, in case of those entities whose the securities are listed on stock exchanges, those who are listed, so there are separate requirement that a statement that the engagement team and others in the firm have complied with the relevant ethical requirements, including independence. So students, you would be reading about these things in chapter 11 in detail. This is also related to independence. This you would also be reading in chapter 11. Okay. So this requirement is there for listed entities where the auditor is auditing financial statements of a listed entity, they are required to communicate a statement to TCWG specifically stating that their engagement team and others in the firm are independent of the entity. They have complied with the independence requirements, including ethical requirements. Now, what is independence? You have got a got an overview probably in chapter 1, but you would be reading it in a detailed manner in chapter 11. Okay, so it would be better if we leave this issue to chapter 11, students. Okay. So the auditor shall communicate with TCWG on a timely basis. The auditor shall communicate with TCWG the form, timing, and expected general content of communications. Simple things which you can read. Okay. Yes, Sanya, you are stating what it mean by unless all of TCWG are involved in managing the entity. In point C. So it is stating that in that case you have to explain to them separately. So if these otherwise you are expected to report these things to the management. Okay. And documentation, when matters required by SA 260 to be communicated are communicated orally, the auditor shall include them in the audit documentation, and when and to whom these were communicated. So if certain matters, say during the audit, it may not be possible to communicate everything in writing. Although efforts are made by auditor to communicate in writing as much as it is possible. However, still there are many matters, there are many inquiries made, even which are made orally, because it is not possible to make every point in writing. So if where matters required by SA 260 to be communicated are communicated orally, like if some significant findings these have been communicated orally, then the documentation requirement in this respect states that the auditor shall include in the audit documentation to whom this matter was communicated orally and when it was communicated, when on which date it was communicated and to whom it was communicated. Okay, if matters to be required to be communicated under SA 260 are communicated orally, only then. So, therefore, SA 260 is uh, trying to document even the oral communication made. You understand? So if the auditor has made some oral communication, then SA 260 is asking the auditor to document even that oral communication which you have made in respect of those matters which are required to be communicated under SA 260. Clear, students? So we shall be taking a short break and we'll be back after a break. Yes, break, Manish, for a few minutes. Welcome back, students. So last essay of this chapter is essay 265, that is communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. Now remember, essay 260 was also about communication, and essay 265 is also about communication. But the content and purpose of these two essays is different. Whereas essay 260 relates to communication with those charged with governance, it relates to general responsibilities, whereas essay 260 relates to auditors' responsibilities in relation to communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. Communicating deficiencies in internal control. Now, students, now time, please time travel in past and go to chapter 3. And go to chapter 3. Yes. Do you remember what is the meaning of deficiencies in internal control? What does this term denote? What can be made out of it? Deficiencies in internal control. What is a deficiency in internal control? Yes, what is your understanding of deficiency in internal control? Yes, anyone? Yes, Dilip, you are saying problems in internal control that may lead to fraud. Yes, correct line of thinking. Sanya, you are stating internal control are not able to correct misstatements. Yes, that's also right. Any other? Control risk. Yes. Weakness of management. Process and procedure followed by the company is not as per the policy. Yes. Ankit, yes, you are also right. Deficiency means control not able to detect and correct misstatements. So internal control, students, as you know, as you understand already, that internal control are policies and procedures laid down by the management for its working, for its efficient working, for its reliable financial reporting, to prevent frauds, to safeguard assets. So these are all the objectives of internal control system laid down by the management of an entity to carry out its organizational objectives. Now, what is a deficiency in internal control? So the purpose of internal control is to prevent a misstatement or to detect and correct a misstatement in a timely manner. So deficiency means that control is unable to prevent or detect and correct a misstatement, or say the control is entirely missing. So there is some flaw where system has which was required to be put in place has not been established at all. It is entirely missing. Okay. So this is the meaning of deficiency in internal control. So first of all, we read what is the meaning of deficiency in internal control as per essay 265. So as per essay 265, deficiency in internal control exists when a control is designed, implemented, or operated in such a way that it is unable to prevent or detect and correct misstatements in the financial statements on a timely basis. Okay. Or a control necessary to prevent or detect and correct misstatements in financial statements on timely basis is missing. So it can be either of these situations. Yes, students. So say the management has devised a control to see that wages are not paid to, say, fictitious employees. Okay. So like it has installed punching machines and all that, such type of controls it has established. So if the control is designed, implemented, or operated in such a way that it is unable to prevent the misstatement, or if the misstatement has happened, it is not able to detect and correct the misstatements in financial statements, then it is said that a deficiency exists, or the control on that aspect may be entirely missing, which was supposed to prevent a misstatement or detect and correct a misstatement. So both the cases fall under the meaning of deficiency in internal control. So students, another important point is that it is not necessary that all deficiencies in internal control could lead to misstatements, but the possibility increases. But it is not that if deficiency exists, then misstatements also exist. It can be that deficiency exists, but still somebody has not exploited it. It is possible. Okay. So significant deficiency in internal control. There is another term, significant deficiency in internal control. Now, what is the meaning of the term significant deficiency in internal control? As per essay 265, so a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control that in auditor's professional judgment is of sufficient importance to merit the attention of those charged with governance. So significant deficiency from the common point of view of understanding is some important deficiency. So a deficiency or combination of deficiency is significant if in auditor's professional judgment it is of such importance, it is of sufficient importance to merit the attention, that it should be brought to the attention of TCWG. Okay. So this is the meaning of deficiency and significant deficiency. Both the definitions are important and are to be remembered by you. Okay. Another important thing, the significance of a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control depends not only on whether a misstatement has actually occurred. So the same thing but also on the likelihood that a misstatement could occur and potential magnitude of misstatement. So it is not necessary that to be considered as a significant deficiency, a misstatement should have actually occurred. It is not necessary. If deficiency is of such important that there is a possibility, that there is a potential that it could lead to misstatement, and the misstatement would be its magnitude would be greater, it would be of considerable effect, then even then it is a significant deficiency. Okay, so significant deficiencies may therefore exist even though the auditor has not identified misstatements during the audit. So you have, say, performed the audit, you have not identified the misstatements. So, but does it mean that there are no significant deficiencies in internal control system? It is quite possible. It is quite possible that there are significant deficiencies in internal control system. And but these have still not led to misstatements, or the auditor has not identified those misstatements. Any of the thing can be there. Yes, students, is the point clear to you? Yes, students, is the point clear to you? So, students, these are the basic points in understanding a topic, in understanding a particular topic. Yes, students, drop a mail. Is the point clear to you? Okay. So the objective of auditor, in accordance with SA 265, to appropriately communicate appropriately. The term used is appropriately. Appropriately means right manner, in right manner, in proper way. We shall come to that. What is appropriate communication in context of uh, communicating significant deficiencies in internal control to TCWG? Okay. The objective of auditor is to communicate appropriately to TCWG and management deficiencies in internal control that the auditor has identified during the audit, and which in the auditor's judgment are of sufficient importance to merit their respective attention. Okay, it means significant deficiencies. Okay. Now, which deficiencies are significant deficiencies? FSA 265 also gives examples of such matters. SA 265 also gives examples of such matters which deficiencies could be significant deficiencies. Okay. Like say one such example is the susceptibility to loss or fraud of related asset or liability. Say if some asset, if there is a greater possibility of an asset being lost, so it is an example of significant deficiency. Say, I'll give you a very simple example. Say if insurance of inventories is not being made on time. So what would happen? What would happen? It means that insurance premium is not paid on time, and the policy which was earlier in force is not renewed and it would lapse. So in such a case, if the assets remain uninsured and some unfortunate incident occurs, then asset may be lost. So not paying, not having a control system with regard to payment of insurance premium on due dates is a significant deficiency in internal control which may be identified by the auditor. Okay. The likelihood of deficiencies, the chances that deficiencies are leading to material misstatements in the financial statements in future. So you have identified some procedures are not working up to the mark. There are deficiencies in that, in those systems laid down procedures, and it could lead to potential misstatements, although it may not have led to. So it is the responsibility of the auditor to communicate um, those deficiencies to TCWG, which he has identified during the course of audit, because during the course of audit, it is natural for him to have studied internal control system as part of gaining understanding of the entity. Okay. Yes, Tambeshwari, you are stating what is meaning of susceptibility. Susceptibility means which is more sensitive, which is more responsive to loss. Susceptibility means it is having greater chance to loss or fraud. Okay. Like to give you another example of its usage, like somebody, if I say Tambeshwari is susceptible to cold, like Tambeshwari easily gets cold. Okay. Yes, Tambeshwari, is it clear to you? The subjectivity and complexity of determining estimated amounts. Yes, Srinivasan, you are writing very well. That I can relate to this. My company every quarter receive questions, communication from auditor. Great, Srinivasan. I know that you are working somewhere. So the subjectivity and complexity of determining estimated amounts, such as accounting estimates. So similar type of things. The volume of activity that has occurred. Say suddenly there are transactions in some account which was lying dead. Okay, like say in case of banks, suddenly there are transaction in non-operative accounts, in inoperative accounts. Okay, so it is an example of matter which would help the auditor, which the auditor should consider in determining whether this deficiency constitutes a significant deficiency or not. These are only illustrative examples of matters. Okay. So similarly, more examples are given. And examples of indicators of significant deficiencies in internal control, and some examples of indicators of significant deficiencies in internal controls itself are also given in essay 265. So these matters are different from these examples. Both these category of examples are different. Students, you should understand clearly. These are the examples of the matters which the auditor should consider in determining whether a particular deficiency or a combination of deficiency constitutes significant deficiency or not. Whereas these are examples of indicators of significant deficiencies themselves. Okay. So like evidence of ineffective aspects of control environment. So control environment is, you remember students, chapter 3, control environment. What is control environment? Anybody? First component of internal control. Remember control environment, students, chapter 3. Yes, what is the meaning of control environment? Any example of control environment can also be, you can also do the work. Yes, answer on BOS mail, students. Yes, Ankit, ethical values and ethics. That's right. How a company treats its employees. It is another example of control environment. What is the structure? How different levels of management have been arranged? What are different layers of authority? So all these constitute control environment. Okay, what is the compensation structure given to employees? How much care a company takes about training its employees? How much it spends on employee welfare, etc. Human resource policies. Yes, Tepali, you are right. Okay. So if the control environment is if ineffective, like like management is doesn't take remedial action on significant deficiencies previously communicated. So say if the auditor has communicated some deficiencies in the past, but the management is not taking any action, it is sleeping. Okay. So what does this mean? This basically means that management is not interested in the quality of its control environment. It is not interested in a reliable financial reporting process. Okay. So absence of a risk assessment process. So it is necessary as per for entities to have a risk assessment process as part of their internal control procedures, so that they can know about the risks, and they can know about the business risks, and they can devise strategies to counter those risks. So if there is no risk assessment process, if there is no system by which management evaluates its business risks, so it is a significant deficiency in internal control. So risk assessment process, entities risk assessment process, as we know, is a vital component of internal control system of an enterprise. Okay. Or if the risk assessment process system is present, process is present, there it is ineffective. Okay. Evidence of ineffective response to identified significant risks, or where say the management doesn't take an effective response to a risk which has been identified. So these are again all examples of indicators of significant deficiencies in internal control. These show that internal control system is deficient. It has significant deficiencies which can lead to potential misstatements. Okay. Now, as per SA 265, the auditor shall communicate in writing significant deficiencies in internal control identified during the audit to TCWG on a timely basis. Yes, Bhavna, you are asking ineffective response. Ineffective response means that management has responded, but that response lacks fruitful action. That response is not able to yield results. Okay. So communication of significant deficiencies in internal control to TCWG. So auditor shall communicate in writing deficiencies in internal control to TCWG on a timely basis. So what are these responsibilities? In writing, he shall inform significant deficiencies in internal control. It is his responsibility to communicate significant deficiencies in internal control, which he has identified and which he has communicated or intends to communicate. Okay. Other deficiencies in internal control identified during the audit that have not been communicated by management by other parties and that in auditor's judgment are of sufficient importance to merit management's attention. Say management has some other systems as part of internal control. Say it has also got internal audit, system of internal audit. Okay. So say if some deficiency which was required to be communicated has not been communicated, and in auditor's opinion such a deficiency needs to be communicated, then both these kind of deficiencies need to be communicated to TCWG and or the management as the case may be. And what shall be included in the written communication of significant deficiencies? Now that is important, students. These paras are important. So the auditor shall include in the written communication of significant deficiencies in internal control a description of the deficiencies and explanation of their potential effects. That is very important. What does this mean? This means that auditor shall not only state what deficiencies he has identified, he has found in the internal control, but he shall also explain their potential effects, that if you fail to correct these, if you fail to take corrective measure on these, what could happen? Okay, if we take insurance example again, so although it is understood, but still the auditor would communicate in this manner that if these assets are uninsured, it could result in financial loss to the company. So this is the potential effect. Yes, other deficiency means which are not significant. Okay, but which have not been communicated by the other parties whose duty was communicate such deficiencies to the management. Okay, so he shall state description of the deficiencies and explanation of their potential effects and sufficient information to enable TCWG or management to understand the context of communication. So what does this mean? That whatever the auditor is trying to communicate, the management should understand the information uh, in totality. It should understand that why the auditor is pointing out this deficiency, what is its purpose, what is its context, and if these deficiencies are not corrected, what could be their potential effects. Clear, students? So these both things as per SA 65 are important. These are to be taken care of by auditor while communicating significant deficiencies in internal control. Now, what are these two important things which have to be taken care of by auditor while communicating significant deficiencies in internal control? Number one is he shall describe the deficiencies along with their potential effects, along with explanation of their potential effects. He shall explain what potential effect it can lead to, and he shall communicate with the management and TCWG to understand, to enable them to understand the context of information, that why such deficiency has been in internal control, has been pointed out, why it has been highlighted. Okay, and further the auditor shall explain. SA 265 also describes that the purpose of audit was for the auditor to express on financial statements, opinion on financial statements, and the auditor is not giving an opinion on the effectiveness on internal control. He has only studied internal control in order to design audit procedure. He is not giving an opinion on the effectiveness of internal control. So SA 265 ask the auditor to explain this to the management so that it is clear to the management that the auditor is not effective, is not providing an opinion on effectiveness of internal control. He has identified deficiencies in internal control as part of his conducting audit, because he was required to obtain understanding of the entity, to understand the systems and procedures laid by the management, which helped him to design the audit procedures for the purpose of obtaining audit evidence. But he is not expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of internal controls. Okay. And the matters being reported are limited to those deficiencies that the auditor has identified during the audit. So when the auditor is communicating those deficiencies, he shall state that I am communicating these matters which have come to my notice during the course of audit. It is not necessary that all deficiencies have come to his notice during the course of audit. So it is restricted to only those deficiencies which have come to the notice of the auditor during the course of audit, and which he has thought it to be of sufficient importance to be communicated to TCWG. Is that clear, students? Yes. Is this clear, students? See this question. Test your understanding 6. And you have also to state yes or no of your answer. Why it is so? So I'll read the question for you, students. On reviewing internal control over inventories. So the auditor is reviewing internal control over inventories as part of statutory audit of a company. He finds that physical verification is not being conducted at regular intervals as stipulated by management. So the management has laid down a procedure that physical verification is to be conducted, say, quarterly. Okay. The auditor finds it to be significant deficiency, and auditor has determined that it is a significant deficiency. So he communicates it to the management in following manner. He states that physical verification of inventories is not being conducted at regular intervals as stipulated by management. Is above communication by auditor proper? Why or why not? Is this communication proper? Yes, Tanya has given reply. Yes, Dilip has is also writing something. Yes, what about other guys? Yes, other responses. So guys, you have probably not understood the question. So only Sanya is writing correctly. Say what I told you. Now the question is not of significant deficiency or not, Tambeshwari. The auditor has stated he has found this deficiency in internal control. It is already stated in the question that it is a significant deficiency. So for asking you to tell whether it is a significant deficiency or not. It is a significant deficiency. Okay, it is stated in the question. The question is about communicating in the proper manner, how it should be communicated. The auditor has communicated in one line that physical verification of management of inventories is not conducted at regular intervals as stipulated by the management. What it is only a description of the deficiency. It does not throw light on the potential effects of this deficiency, that it could lead to the difference between the physical inventories and stock records. It could lead to embezzlement. It could lead to frauds. Okay, so and it does. So the requirement of SA 265 was that when an auditor includes the written communication of significant deficiency, he writes a description of the deficiency and explanation of their potential effects, and sufficient information to enable those charged with governance to understand the context of the communication. That say he has not found anything in the um, records of the company which show that physical verification of inventories was being conducted at stipulated intervals, so that the management can understand the purpose of the procedures, the context of the communication. Okay. Yes, Bhavna, you are stating that it tells not about potential effect, but tells only that there is significant deficiency. Okay. So with this, students, we have done all essays contained in this chapter. That is essay 560, essay 570, essay 450, essay 580, essay 260, and essay 265. And on 10th, on coming Tuesday, we shall be doing case studies, MCQs, and descriptive questions relating to this chapter. So be ready and prepare this chapter. And yes, Manish, you can unmute if somebody wants to ask some question. Yes, students, if you want to ask some question on Zoom.
Good evening, sir.
हाँ तांबेश्वरी बताइए.
Sir, I do mistake because I not understood the deficiency and the significant deficiency between the difference. So, sir, can you tell me in
हाँ
Hindi?
यस, मैं आपको हिंदी में बताता हूँ तांबेश्वरी. डेफिशिएंसी का तो मीनिंग आप समझते हैं कि वो जो है इंटरनल कंट्रोल में कुछ लैकिंग है, जो कि उसको मिस स्टेटमेंट को प्रिवेंट नहीं कर पाता, या उसको डिटेक्ट या करेक्ट नहीं कर पाता. ये तो आप समझते हैं, या वो कंट्रोल ही मिसिंग है. ये तो डेफिशिएंसी का मतलब है.
Yes, sir.
सिग्निफिकेंट डेफिशिएंसी का मतलब है जो ऑडिटर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में, जो ऑडिटर की प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट में इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि उसको मैनेजमेंट को बताना जरूरी है. जैसे कि आपने अभी ये क्वेश्चन देखा जिसमें कि फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ इन्वेंट्री बताया गया है कि कंडक्ट नहीं किया जा रहा, स्टाफ उसको कंडक्ट नहीं कर पा रहा, तो ये एक सिग्निफिकेंट डेफिशिएंसी है. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि ऑडिटर ने इसको समझा कि ये मैटर मैनेजमेंट की नॉलेज में लाना जरूरी है, इसलिए ये सिग्निफिकेंट डेफिशिएंसी है. समझ गए आप?
मतलब कि सर जो भी मैटर है वो मतलब इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है कि मैं जो मैं मैनेजमेंट है उसके नॉलेज में आना ही चाहिए।
हाँ, तो उसको हम सिग्निफिकेंट डेफिशिएंसी कहते
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
हैं। यस, एनीबॉडी एल्स? Yes, any other communication students? So we have done 2 essays on communication. Any other communication from your side? So probably there is no query, students. So we are going to wind up the session. So as I've told you, come in great numbers, students. On coming Tuesday, we shall be doing case study, MCQs, and descriptive questions on this chapter, and we shall also talk generally about how to answer in auditing paper. Okay, guys, have a great time. Thank you. Yes.